So a year ago, I had a crazy idea. I wanted to write something about sex. My parents and friends worried that I would write something horny or dirty. They thought I was crazy. But what's wrong with it? I suddenly realized that talking about sex is still a taboo in a multicultural international city, Hong Kong. Right. So what I actually did is just found an online media called OpenRoom, which mainly focuses about sex and gender issues in Hong Kong. Since I found that the internet is flooded with misleading information, and our goal is to deliver accurate information to the audience by repackaging the already existing but boring sex and gender researches into something more fun and accessible to the general public. As a media, we do not just providing some information, but also answers questions. We receive a lot of messages from teenagers like, how should I request to have sex with my partner? A common question. Another one, my boyfriend wants to make love with me. What should I do? Another common questions. Girls usually show their worries towards sex. And next, how to use a tampon? A good one. Hong Kong girls usually use pads rather than tampons. Okay. And do condoms kill germs? It might be a fantastic product if it does exist. So next one. Can I make love with my girlfriend during her periods? Yes, you can, but there are some few things that you need to notice, but I'm not going to explain it right now. Is masturbating a problem? No, masturbation is something natural and healthy, but please don't get addicted to it. And next one, last but not least. Asked by a guy, I fell in love with my best male friend. Does it mean that I am gay? It doesn't really matter if you're gay, just embrace it. Yes, we receive a lot of message about sex and relationship and gender. Our volunteer, a group of pre-service teachers, social workers, and also journalists, have tried their best to answer the questions and refer some cases to other specialists. At first, we thought this inquiry was some exceptional case because many of them were common sense. However, it turned out not to be true. After an entire year of observation, answering this question day after day, seeing this question repeat over and over again, we realized that they are more common than you think. It meant something. This question revealed what Hong Kong teenagers are eager to know, because they seldom learn it from school. So this question can be grouped into 5 categories. First, intercourse. Second, relationship tips about sex. And next is contraceptive method about pills, condom, and more. And next, LGBTQ, which is not openly accepted in Hong Kong right now. And last, masturbation, mostly asked by girls. Okay, so why they come to us and why they are raising these kind of questions? Are these styles representing the most teenagers feel? Did I feel the same way when I was at their age? Yes, I did. When I was 16 years old, I was going through the process of physical and mental changes. We call it puberty, which is actually just a few years ago. You know, as teenagers, we all experience the terrible process when we want to love or be loved by someone. And I met a guy who was my teenage dream. By the way, he's not handsome. On the 14th of March, we called it Valentine's Day. I prepared some cookies and chocolates for him. And I knocked on his door and took my first step into the world of romantic fantasy. And we hugged and kissed, and he wanted something more, but I didn't want it. I felt really confused at that moment, and I had a lot of questions stuck in my mind. Should I stop him, or should I say nothing and let him continue? If I turn him down, will it ruin our relationship? What if I become pregnant after this? Oh my God, I don't know how to use condoms. Does this sound familiar to you guys? I ask myself the same questions, like the teenagers who come to us. We all ran through this process. We all faced the same circumstances and found no one to answer these important questions. Sex is actually something normal and natural, something we must experience, but we always feel puzzled and often have no clues about it. The youngster need a lighthouse, a shelter where they can be guided and get their answers. So, back to my story, I was not ready to make the decision that might totally change my entire life. What if we had sex? What if I got pregnant? Probably I'm not able to stand here to share this story to you guys. I was lucky that day because at that moment, his mother came home and saved me. But this is not the cure, because mother won't always be here to save us, right? When we face all this kind of challenge, we may be puzzled. So why have we become so ignorant when we face this issue, which is so important to our life? There's really come attention toward the sex ed in mainstream education, because as an educator, I believe that education is always the best cure for social issues arising from ignorance. These teenagers make me think that how I learned about sex in the past school years. I learned how to use condoms in the black and white facts about intercourse in biology class because I studied biology. I remember the biology teacher blushing as he was slowly putting a condom onto a test tube as if it was a penis, but I can't remember the procedure after it. I learned how to use PACs in the morning assembly taught by my Chinese subject teacher. She emphasized the importance of genital hygiene. We are also taught to say no to premarital sex in liberal study class because women are always the one who suffer at the end. So this is what I learned from school. Does it sound familiar to you guys, or is it the same for you? So what about now? 3 years later, are information taught in school enough to meet our needs? So in order to know the answers, I conducted a small survey. So one day, I stepped into my class of early teenagers and asked them, according to your experience in mainstream education, what do you learn about sex? After I put down the word sex on the blackboard, they started whispering and laughing. A boy raised his hand and said, "Oh, Miss Tiu, you are talking something R-rated, which means restricted and contains some adult contents." And I smiled and said, "Okay, let's see. Can you guys give me one word that's come to your mind when thinking about sex? Then I will put it down on the blackboard and see what can we get." Suddenly, everyone in class stopped talking. A girl who looked mature than other students in the class said, "Period." Then a girl who sat next to her said, "Pets." And this process went on in the class, and also other classes, and also in other teenagers that I met. Finally, I shot out this feedback regarding to the sex ed. Okay, so this is the top 5 responses. First, premarital sex, which mainly focus on the problems and abortions. Next, puberty issues, mainly focus on the difference between boys and girls. And also periods, about girls have their periods and they need to use PACs. And next, about sexually transmitted infection with a lot of horrible and disgusting pictures, and also condoms. According to my observation, so there's a large gap between what teenagers want to know and what they learn from school. Their questions are not evil or dirty, and it is possible for us, the teachers, to have a constructive and positive discussion with them. Unfortunately, in Hong Kong, there's only a small amount of sex ed scheduled in different school subjects. The independent sex ed lessons are taught by NGOs mostly. So this is no systematic curriculum for us to follow. Only the biological aspect and problems of premarital sex are being emphasized. So there's a research done by Loserlo in 2011 that states that sex ed in school is unproductive because teachers only tell the student about the negative sides of sex. In fact, the only official material available in Hong Kong today is called Guidance on Sex Education in Secondary School, which was published in 1997. It provides some outdated information. For instance, they are still using ICQ as a demonstrative example. And this is not the worst. The worst is sex ed is still not compulsory in the current Hong Kong educational system. The school can choose to teach or not to teach sex ed. Some schools can even skip the part when they talk about sex in liberal studies. According to Red Ribbon Center, 134 secondary schools in Hong Kong that responded to the survey, over 50% claimed that they have no time for sex education. And according to another survey conducted by AIDS Concern and Sticky Rice Love, who interviewed 558 secondary school and university students, more than 10% of them did not receive any sex ed in last semester. 51 only got 1 or 2 hour sex ed lessons. If knowledge of academic subjects are important, sex is no different, because it is fundamental for everyone. I don't understand why school refuse to talk about these important issues if we do care our children, their health, and their decision. Why don't we just give them the information they need? Or even the worse, our educators do not know how to teach. Educators have the duty to provide this unbiased and objective knowledge about sex rather than subjectively teaching them to stay away from it. Sex can be treated as some serious and academic subject. What you don't know can ruin your life, and sex is no exception. As a teacher-to-be, I do care about the personal development of my students, and sex is an important part of it. We are urging for a comprehensive, positive sexuality education, a kind of education that provides accurate and unbiased information and body development, sex, sexuality, and relationships, along with skill building to help the young generation to make informed decisions about sex and their health. And sex ed is something far beyond sex. So in order to let you guys to remember what we talked today, so actually I created a diagram, and I call it as condom diagram. So it concludes some elements of sexuality education. Most people may think that condom is a symbol of safe sex, but for me, I think sexuality education is much more safer than condoms. However, I think it still have a room to improve anyway. It's just a reminder. Sex ed is far beyond sex. They need to learn it because it's an important part of their life. And I won't allow this another girl to feel what I felt that day, to face the dilemma, alone and confused. Teenagers should be able to speak their mind, talk to the parents, partners about sex, and make informed decisions. And it's a long way to go, but I'll never give up, and you shouldn't give up as well. So now, what can we do to assist our youth, at least to provide them some panels? Just get involved in it. And yes, this is what exactly I'm doing, to provide them some evidence-based information they need, you need, and I need, and also the lead to genius need. And you can also be a part of it. If you do care our society about education and your children, please don't avoid the topic of sex. Learn more and feel free to talk. Don't blame our kids when they talk about sex. We need to try to provide them a positive sex environment. So just do it today by talking about sex issue on your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Discuss it and respond positively. I swear your friends will be fascinated and click the like buttons. So step forward and join us. Thank you.